Thank you for listening to the BjjBrick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends, to the BjjBrick Podcast. My name is Joe Thomas. I'm on here with my good buddies Byron Jabara and Gary Hall. This is episode 301. We're going to have Greg Diamond on the episode today. He trains jiu-jitsu, does a little grappling, but he also has produced an athletic supporter that looks to be rock solid. And if that's something you wear and you're looking for a better one, check it out. Gary, Byron, how you guys doing today?
Doing great. Excited for another show. And really got done talking to Craig Diamond a little bit ago, and really enjoyed getting to know him. As a person in the industry, and he's also a grappler, so we have a lot to talk about as far as jiu-jitsu, and really something that I've kind of, as far as like wearing a cup or that sort of protection, I've done it, I've tried it, I didn't like it, it's uncomfortable, I took it off the shelf, and I don't really worry about it, and now, because of somebody like Craig, it's now possible to wear a cup and not be uncomfortable, so I'm excited to bring this interview to you guys. Gary, how are you doing?
I am doing great. I am ready for another quality episode, like quality H2O of the BjjBrick Podcast.
Speaking of quality, what we like on this show is everything we bring you is high quality. We've got a couple of audiobooks that are extremely high quality. 6 Games for BJJ and Your First Year in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If you're in your first year of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, even if you're near the end of it, Byron has put together an audiobook that will be very helpful to you. Help you choose the right school, help you choose the right gear, help you to figure out what things are important to focus on and what things maybe you can worry about later. So check it out. Byron, anything in there I missed?
Nope. I did my best in making our audiobooks, and hopefully they're of high quality. And if you enjoy audio content in jiu-jitsu, I hope that they help you along your way.
Byron, Joe, you talked about Byron's audiobook, Gear. Helps you, pick your gear. And part of your gear is going to come in a form of an athletic supporter. So great show. Byron, you may have to do an appendage after this show, and after talking with Craig, may have to put something in there. And Joe, I don't mean appendage like that. I hear Joe just chuckling in the background.
Wow.
That train is derailed very fastly, very quickly.
So
protect your appendages with Diamond MMA.
Yeah. Okay. So quickly now, if you're driving, not the time. But if you're at the office or doing something where you can hop online, check out diamondmma.com. And just pull that up, and it's going to start rolling a video of the use of the cup. And they're not just doing like typical things; they're kind of putting to some extreme use. It's pretty crazy and entertaining to watch. So, that's something you should do before the interview gets started if you can. Otherwise, you'll be fine. But it's pretty fun to watch.
But, for the person being filmed, for the person being on the receiving end, you really better have a quality product, and that's the Diamond MMA Cup, to actually take a steel bar and bricks and a sledgehammer to it. I wouldn't want to be there's no way I would volunteer if I wasn't 100% confident in that product.
Yeah. If you know what, you guys are fans of the BjjBrick Podcast, the cup has defeated the brick.
Darn.
Dang it.
We got to start all over.
We chose the wrong thing. But we'll have time for that during the interview. I do want to tell you guys about an off-the-mat lesson that will kind of drag onto the mat. And I've talked about it several weeks back about a book by Daniel Coyle, New York Times bestselling author we've had on the show way back when. His newest book is The Culture Code, where he talks about developing a culture in a place. It could be a gym or a work environment or a school, whatever, a team, and developing cultures that lead to success or that lead to kind of a toxic environment. Like he looks at everything and what happens and why these things happen. And at the start of the book, he does such a great job of sharing really interesting stories and studies. he gives he didn't do this. He finds a study where they have groups of like college students, Stanford University in California or like Tokyo, and they get a group of 4 students, and they give them 20 pieces of uncooked spaghetti, 1 yard of transparent tape, 1 yard of string, and a standard size marshmallow. And the goal is to get the marshmallow as high up as you can using these materials. And there's 4 students, and they go to work and they try to figure this out. They do the same thing with kindergartners. They give these same 4 kindergartners the same materials, and see who could make it, the marshmallow be highest off the ground. And if you were to bet which team would be likely to win, you'd be like, well, it'd be Stanford, or would it be, the University of Tokyo, whatever. The kindergartners smoke these adults. On average, in dozens of trials, the kindergartners average 26 inches tall with their structures, and that's 10 more inches. So you're looking at 16 inches tall with the college kids and their structures. It's not that those kindergartners are obviously not smarter or more educated. It's just they approach it differently. They kind of play with it, while all these college kids are coming in with strategies and these game plans. These kindergartners coming in and just testing stuff out and getting down to work, and the way they communicate with each other is important as well, and they share ideas and this sort of thing. I read this, and it's just so amazing that these kindergartners have a better process for getting the result than the college kids. And then you look at jiu-jitsu. What kind of process are you wanting to get out of your gym? Do you want to have people that come up with their own techniques and develop their own games? Do you want to have elite athletes, or do you want to have a group of people that are having fun? Whatever. You need to engineer the culture and the structure of the room to get those things. And it's a great book, and I really enjoy reading. I've read it twice. So it's something that is just a great example. With it's not always the technique. It's not always, who trains hardest. A lot of it is the culture of the room, and the culture of those kindergartners. It was to get a hold of something, start playing with it, start experimenting with it. The culture of the adults, it was more to strategize, to look at it, to draw some little maps out on paper or whatever, try to figure it out that way. And the kindergartners had a much higher rate of success. And I was really blown away with that story.
Byron,
man,
I actually participated in that I really did. And I've done this twice now in different classes, that I've done business-wise. And I know exactly what you're talking about. That's one thing they were saying, that the kids did better. And I got to admit, I didn't do very good either time. And
Gary's was one of the few groups that their little marshmallow ended up under the table.
Yeah, it's a lot harder than it seems, and to keep that, I know Byron has this problem, but to keep it up, to keep that thing standing tall, it doesn't do very well. But the one thing I do think is a little different in this, when you were talking about, on the mat too, with jiu-jitsu, and I know Joe will agree with me on this, because Joe has went to numerous kindergarten classes, and Joe has wiped the mat with those kids. So, they may be better at building marshmallows and spaghetti sticks, but Joe did wipe the mat with them, training jiu-jitsu with them. So kudos to Joe.
Only because I train smart. I let them wear themselves out first. I sit the first couple rounds out. When I see them start to get winded, that's when I pounce.
Oh,
it's my only chance with those guys.
Hey, you're smarter. Good job.
Yep. That was a great lesson, Byron. And as you were talking about it, I was thinking one of the things that I see in some gyms that I kind of think is a sign of a good, healthy culture is after class, people are working on some things, they're drilling some things. Maybe there's an upper belt out there holding a little class after class and explaining some things. But I also like when you see white belts that are sort of just workshopping, brainstorming, and sometimes you watch them and it's like the blind leading the blind. They've got crazy ideas and, I saw this on YouTube, or I saw this, or I went to this seminar 6 months ago. And I think it's a sign of a good culture when they're comfortable enough to have these conversations and do this and not worried about people being judgmental and nobody's going to come in and take over their little conversation. But I also think it's great, like they don't really even know all the rules yet of how to train and what you need to learn first. And, sometimes we get into that, like you got to learn this. They don't know all that. They're just learning. And I imagine that's why the kindergartners win, is because they're not constrained by previous notions and stuff. And so, yeah, I love to see white belts just kind of start figuring things out and brainstorm with each other. And so, great point.
Yeah, like you were talking about that, Joe, about the culture of the gym and white belts, just trying stuff and they're comfortable enough to even just talk about stuff like that. And, I think sometimes we worry too much what people are saying about us. And, having a strong gym, like you said, we don't worry about it. There's no constraints. We're just going to try it. We don't care what somebody says about it. And, that brings me back to Eleanor Roosevelt, one of Joe's favorite people. But what she said one time is, you wouldn't worry so much about what others think about you, or sorry, I'm butchering this thing, but Eleanor said, you wouldn't worry so much about what others think of you if you realized how seldom they do. And, Byron, take that away. Tell me what you think about that quote.
Yeah, I really like that quote. Really, people think about themselves more often than anything else, and maybe the few people that they interact with every day, like spouses or siblings or that sort of a relationship. If you're worried about what your coworkers thinking about you or the person you sat next to on the bus or whatever, they probably aren't thinking about you very much. Like, they think about you when you're there next to them, and then when you leave, they probably think about you as often as you're thinking about them. Or probably a lot less. So in like jiu-jitsu, if I'm training and I'm worried about my training partners are thinking about me, that's not a healthy thing for me to have a good training situation with myself. If, let's just say, I'm training with a blue belt and I get tapped out, what's happening in that blue belt's brain, like on their drive home, with that they that night when they go to bed, like what's happening? If anything's happening, it's not about how Byron sucks at jiu-jitsu and I caught him. It's about, man, I think I'm getting better. I think my triangle is really coming around and hitting new levels now. It's about themselves and how their jiu-jitsu is working. It's not about how that person is a total fraud. They're not really even good at jiu-jitsu. If I can catch them, they're thinking about themselves and their own jiu-jitsu. And so, if you're that blue belt who gets caught by that white belt, it might bother you. I think that's pretty normal. I think that's bothered everybody who's been a blue belt who's gotten caught by a lower belt. But in reality, if part of that bothering you is their opinion of you, it's probably not changed. They still respect you as a jiu-jitsu person. Probably they've built a little confidence in this, and they've thought of a little bit more of their own jiu-jitsu, which is more realistic as far as what people think about. They think about themselves more often than others.
Yep, and Gary, you're right. Eleanor Roosevelt was absolutely one of my favorite people, and part of the reason is because the second half of this quote, which we didn't include in the show notes, and Gary didn't read it, but you wouldn't worry so much about what others think of you if you realized how seldom they do. For example, I have a weak guard passing game, but my sweep game is on point.
That's exactly what Eleanor said.
Yes, and then she went on to elaborate that the only people thinking about how weak her guard passing game was her. She's thinking about it, but the rest of the people, they're worried about their own jiu-jitsu. And so that's very much true. Great quote, Gary.
Thank you, Joe.
You won the internet this week.
Yes, so that makes 2 weeks I've won, and out of the last 6 weeks, you've won 4 and I've won 2. How many have you won, Byron?
I don't compare myself with you guys.
I set you up
healthy.
there, buddy.
Not a healthy thing to do. So I'm just here to participate and try to do my best. And if I happen to ever win the internet, that would be okay. But I'm just doing my best.
But you're lucky. You're right, Byron. It is not healthy, and it's just not healthy to think about that. And it's also not healthy to just have a regular athletic supporter when you're training jiu-jitsu. And, we have Craig Diamond, Diamond MMA, getting ready to come on and talk to Byron. So let's roll Craig and Byron here.
He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
He taught Tyler Durden how to make soap just because they had extra supplies. He once got a mat burn. It ended up causing a 3-alarm fire. When he pulls guard, the ref gives him 2 points. If you watch his competition footage, you will see Mr. Miyagi looking at him with approval.
I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BjjBrick Podcast. Stay listening, my friends.
All right, my friends, I'm happy to bring Craig Diamond to the BjjBrick Podcast. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you here. We've never really talked about this so far, so we have a wide variety of topics to cover today. But you are the CEO of Diamond MMA, and you're very well known for making like the standard of cups for people who are doing grappling. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, absolutely. Really any combat sport, our groin protection is the best, and then obviously other sports people are using it for too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I didn't do a great job of introducing you. Could you just kind of give a little rundown of who you are and what you're up to besides that?
Sure, yeah. My name's Craig Diamond. I just turned 40. I got 3 kids. I live in a suburb outside of Chicago. I'm personally a lifelong athlete. Since 2 or 3 years old, I've been playing baseball, hockey, football. My senior year, I actually played 4 sports. I actually wrestled as well, and just had a good upbringing with lots of good friends that were athletes and always competing against each other. So. That's a little bit about that, and certainly that helped me. My athletic background helped me know about sports, know about equipment, know about some of the problems that guys can face, and later on in life that helped me tackle some of the problems we're dealing with groin protection. But just going back to an early age, I was always just a rough and tough kid that wanted to get out there and play and tackle and wrestle and just be a kid and it was a lot of fun.
And you started the company Diamond MMA. How did that? What's the roots with that?
So Diamond MMA started kind of as a side project. I was just kind of do it on during the nights after my day job. I run my family's construction company by day, and I'd say back when the Ultimate Fighter started coming back on TV, that first season, I kind of fell back in love with it. I had used to watch the tapes in college and all that, and started making T-shirts actually, and then kind of morphed into fight shorts, and started designing some really high-end kind of cool fight shorts, and then while showing these athletes in the gyms and the MMA guys are shorts, they actually asked about a cup, and they said they really needed a good cup, and that was what they were struggling with. So kind of scratched all the shorts and T-shirt designs and just focused on solving this problem of uncomfortable groin protection. And that kind of started the whole company. And guys like Joe Rogan heard about us and saw the videos of me getting kicked and using our products online and got behind it. And soon after, many UFC fighters and top grapplers and Jiu-Jitsu guys were wearing our products. Guys like Gary Tonin and Eddie Cummings and many, many more. So it's been fun and a really cool learning experience for me. And I recruited a bunch of high-level designers who also train and grapple. One of our product designers is Alex Coriano. He actually walked on to wrestle at Purdue and now is a top wrestling and grappling coach at El Nino Training Center in San Francisco, home of Jake Shields and Gilbert Melendez. So it's just been really cool building this business and getting to meet all these athletes that wear and love our products. And you just had a good background to start the business as far as my own athletics, and then also having a very entrepreneurial family that have started their own forms of businesses. And yeah, we're not where we want to be yet, but we're getting there slowly but surely.
Yeah, to talk a little bit more about you as a person, how long have you been training martial arts or getting on the mat and doing some jiu-jitsu?
Okay, so actually, my martial arts career really started in 9th grade. 9 years old. I was about 9 years old, I should say. And my mother at the time was married to a sensei for Shotokan karate, and I was doing Shotokan karate, I guess, from 3rd to 5th grade at a pretty competitive level, and we were traveling around and going to the Junior Olympics and doing that. So that was pretty much the start. After that, I kind of took up more traditional sports like football, baseball, hockey, and got pretty serious about that, and even played baseball a couple of years at the college level. And then after that, I started messing around a little bit with some jiu-jitsu and wrestling and grappling here and there, but really I'd say committed full-time to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, probably 5 or 6 years ago, and found a great school in Chicago, New Breed Jiu-Jitsu. It's the owner is Mark Vivas, and just a great school to train at. And I actually got my blue belt there from those guys. And although lately I haven't been on the mats as much as I'd like, it's my home gym in school, and just a great place to train and get better at.
Yeah, I think would like to be on the mat a little bit more than we can, and you're running this very successful business and trying to get some mat time. Do you have any favorite techniques? I'd like to hear those from you.
Yeah, I'd say probably my favorite technique I'd say is the Ezekiel, maybe. I just from top or from side, I think it kind of is. It's a sneaky one that bites quick, and I've had some success with that. Just some of the more basic techniques. Kimuras, triangles. I learned some good wrist locks from another guy from Lake County Jiu-Jitsu, Carlos, and so just pretty much those. I'm really trying to learn the fundamentals still. I have a long way to go to really get all my fundamentals down. And although I'm a strong athletic guy, jiu-jitsu is a lot more than that. So I got a lot of work to do in my game. That's for sure.
Craig, I don't have the best Ezekiel choke out there. I would like to know, considering that as one of your better techniques, when did that for you become that way? When was this technique? When did that happen to become your better technique? Has it always been, or did you make a change with what you were doing, or just start trying it more? What happened to make that one of your best techniques?
I think it was for one of the first kind of moves I learned, even though it's probably not a typical first move. Someone showed it to me, and then I just practiced it and used it and felt comfortable with it. And so I don't know that I've worked hard enough to get any better than it is, but it's just something that seems natural, and I don't know if it really matters, but I'm kind of ambidextrous, so I feel comfortable with both arms, and I don't know. I think once I can get in a good position, and that's definitely one thing I'd struggle with, I should say, with the move is obviously position before submission, and sometimes I'll rush a little too much and just don't have my hips down or don't have all my weight in the right spot, and then you get rolled over or whatever. But it's fun because I think people don't really see it coming and expect it, and it just kind of it bites pretty quick.
Yeah, or but from my experience, if I see it coming, I have so little tools to deal with it by the time, because a lot of times one of my arms is taken out of play, so I'm trying to fight off with just one arm that's in a bad position already. It's like, oh, he's trying to Ezekiel choke. Okay, I'm behind the ball already trying to defend this thing. So that's
and it'll make a move. Exactly. It's good. It's a good threatening submission to make someone move or make someone maybe turn or whatever. So. Yeah, it's great. I mean, of all the sports that one thing on a personal note, I mean, I have been a 3-sport athlete my entire life. And I have never really been a student of the game. I always love to learn the fundamentals. I love to practice, but I never loved to watch it on TV. I never like to watch baseball, or I never played fantasy football, or even though I, was the captain of all my teams and was a pretty good player, I just never liked watching it on TV. And jiu-jitsu and fighting is the first sport that I actually follow and enjoy watching. And that's something different for me as an athlete. Most guys love to play and watch sports. I kind of just love to play the sports. I didn't love to watch. But now, I got my subscription to Flow Grappling, and I'm finding myself watching jiu-jitsu a lot more, and just even thinking about it a lot more. A lot of the times when I'm not on the mat and I'm sitting in traffic, I'm just thinking about it and thinking about the sport. And so that's what been a great thing as far as the Diamond MMA business, and just learning and practicing jiu-jitsu is being able to watch it on TV and enjoy it more and know what I'm watching. Yeah,
I do think that with any further knowledge with a sport, you're able to enjoy it at a different level. And I think that I'm not a sports fan, but I love jiu-jitsu. So I really do enjoy watching jiu-jitsu. But I don't think if I did it, it's hard to be have that level of appreciation. And so just by learning more about it, you gain a deeper understanding, and you gain a deeper enjoyment for watching it done well, because it is very hard to do well. But
just thinking, another thing is that obviously the benefits of jiu-jitsu and after training, and as much as I try to remember the feeling I get after the training session. So if I am not able to make it, or just kind of taking the easy way out and just want to not go for some reason, I think it's important to remember that feeling you're going to get for after the workout is really why you're there. Is just at least for me, and I know I've had a lot of stress lately in my life, and business and personal, and by not going to jiu-jitsu regularly, definitely it takes a toll on my patience, my frustration, and my anger levels. Definitely. I mean, I feel if I don't go to jiu-jitsu, certainly for a couple of weeks, you feel it build up, and if I'm aggravated, I may want to, have a little, I wouldn't say road rage, but just getting frustrated or aggravated, and this is, after you go roll with some guys that maybe 50 pounds lighter than you, and they bring it to you, or just really getting smashed, there's nothing better for me to make me feel better than that feeling. So I have to remember that as an entrepreneur, as a father, as a businessman, that stress relief and that that humbling in a good, safe way, is very important to me, and most guys, I think. Yeah,
I think most people get some sort of a stress relief from jiu-jitsu, and you mentioned kind of like getting that role where, someone's maybe lighter than you, or that sort of thing. I think I get that stress relief from just being in the room with the people. Just being in a room where everybody is having fun and enjoying the time with each other. And like, regardless, I could be stressed out, come in, roll like garbage, you get tapped out a bunch of times, and I still go home like, I feel pretty good. Even if I don't get that smashing.
Exactly. That you said something that I forgot to say. And one thing that I'm most, why jiu-jitsu, I think, or some form of martial arts is so important, especially after you've played team sports your whole life, is camaraderie. And like you said, it's the camaraderie of going into that gym and seeing the friendly faces and laughing and taping up and getting ready that is important. That's the tribe. That's what you miss if you, even if you play up to a high school level. You just don't get to hang out with the team anymore. I mean, playing softball for once a week is one thing, but like you said, sitting with the guys and laughing is important. And at the school that I train at New Breed in Chicago, where they're actually in Niles, everybody there is there to make each other better, and they have no meathead tolerance, zero tolerance for anybody that's there to obviously hurt anybody or be, aggressive in a way that's not good. And so, I mean, there's doctors and lawyers and accountants and competitive athletes and ex-Chicago Bears, and just anybody that trains there has your best interest, not only to get better, just to make sure you get to come the next day and not get hurt. And so I think finding a school like that works with me, where if I want to really turn it up and be competitive and really go hard, there's guys for that, and there's guys for everything. But even those good top guys that are competing nationally and worldwide are always there to take care of you. And so I think a lot of guys don't realize what jiu-jitsu is. They think it's like karate, and they think it's striking or something. They don't realize just how gentle it can be. And of course there's injuries with everything, and it is not gentle at times, but in the right gym with the right training partners, it's a great sport.
Yeah. So to talk about a little bit about the business here, you didn't start off as a company that was making like protection systems or groin protection systems. How did that happen? Why the change into that market?
So originally, when the UFC started coming on TV, it was these guys would walk out and they'd have T-shirt brands. It was Tap Out, it was Silver Star, it was all these different companies. Sprawl, if you remember the Sprawl fight shorts. And they would have to pay athletes to wear their T-shirts. I just didn't think that was a real. Well, really, we started the T-shirts actually to make more of a classic brand look. So a lot of the T-shirts, to back up, were flaming eagles and skulls and very aggressive designs that I didn't really want to wear. I wanted more of a classic brand look that could represent the sport that I liked, and also pick my daughter up at kindergarten in. And so we designed a classic look of a T-shirt. From there, we realized we'd have to pay these guys to wear our T-shirts. So we wanted to make a product they'd actually wear and help them improve, their performance. So we transitioned to these fight shorts, and we used some proprietary fabrics and unique cuts and sewing to make a fight short. So we took these fight shorts around to different gyms. We went to Rufus Sport in Milwaukee. We went to AKA in San Jose, and we were showing them these really cool fight shorts at the time we thought were very cool. And they said, you know what, guys, these are cool, but actually we need a good cup. All we're wearing is these crappy Walmart cups that are moving around, and they're having to layer 2 pairs of underwear plus a compression short just to keep the cup from shifting, because there wasn't a cup designed for the dynamic movement of rolling, of grappling, of jiu-jitsu, of kicking and striking. It just nothing. All they had was a tie cup, that steel tie cup that would have a shoelace that go up your crack, and you'd have to tie it, and it was very uncomfortable and heavy. And so we kind of scrapped the fight shorts, and we just said, all right, let's talk to these guys. Let's find out what kind of cups they're wearing and what are they rolling in. And we interviewed tons of guys from all over, and we kind of learned the do's and don'ts of what good protection is. And then we hired sewers, and we cut up yoga mats and duct tape, and we started prototyping a version that would be so comfortable and supportive you could actually get kicked by a UFC fighter and keep fighting. And so after dozens and dozens of prototypes and years of development, we kind of figured out the system that would be comfortable to where you forget you're even wearing a cup. And a lot of guys in grappling and BJJ really don't wear cups. They think it's uncomfortable, or they just don't wear it. And we're trying to change that. I mean, we have guys like Gary Tonin and Eddie Cummins, like I said, and Joe Rogan, a lot of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu guys, Scott Epstein, are wearing our cups, and these are some of the top guys in the world. But if you don't have a cup that's not going to stay in place, you're better off not even wearing one, because that cup will shift or move, and all of a sudden one of your family jewels falls out, and that's when injury starts or can happen. So yeah, I mean, it's been a long road. We've been around almost 10 years, and we're proud that we actually make products that fighters will purchase and buy, because they need it, not just because we're paying them to wear it.
So I'm a guy that doesn't wear cups. I've tried them, and they become a thing of more distraction than they're worth. It's just like, if I'm thinking about my cup, I'm not thinking about doing the right thing on the mats, and I end up getting caught in something. I'm like, man, I was totally distracted by my cup. And so this sounds like that doesn't. This is designed to not have that. Like, I'm wearing a not non-grappling, but not the right type of a cup for me to perform. So what's different?
So what's different is that we have a patented 4-strap jock. It's basically, if you can picture a traditional jock strap, it's got the 2 straps you put your legs through. The cup is still going to shift and move, and over time, that elastic's going to kind of turn into bacon strips and just not hold the cup where it should. Our 4-strap jock is 2 additional straps that connect to the bottom of the cup pocket and kind of are sewn into the waistband. So it's almost like a climbing harness, if you could imagine, where it's got these 4 straps that are going to keep the cup in place. Then we sew that in to a pair of compression shorts. So you're really getting like double the system that's going to be locked down in place. So you have the one system with the straps that's going to keep it from shifting and moving, and then the second half is our cup. The cup is actually designed to fit everything inside, so it's got volume and depth, so all your important parts are going to be inside the protective area. And then the rubber around the cup is soft, flexible, and it's not going to irritate the groin tendons or the sides of your thighs. It's going to be able to take a shot, or if someone's trying to pass your guard and you get a knee to the groin, you're going to be able to take it and keep going. And so the comfortable cup, along with our compression jock system, which is that 4-strap system, that's what is the secret combination. It's just an all-in-one system that doesn't move or shift. And it took years and a house mortgage and just a lot of work to figure it out. But now that we have it, it's, a lot of guys are using it and it's helping them.
Craig, I'm thinking about myself as I train, and I do just jiu-jitsu or no gi grappling, whatever. I don't do any striking arts. I'm trying to minimize any like strikes or concussion style of damage to my head or my brain. Like that's important to me. But I don't think about it as like minimizing damage short-term or long-term, because we all have to deal with the short-term damage. It hurts, you curl up. I don't know what kind of long-term damage is being done every time you take some damage like this to the groin. I don't know, but it can't be healthy to be, even once a month get racked like that. That's not something that you want to introduce to the toolbox, so to speak. Exactly. Like that's an important thing. And so, like my issue has always been they're uncomfortable, and I think the main reason with discomfort, there might be some issue with the size or with the way that they're shaped, or whatever. But it's that they move, and then that adds like to another level of discomfort. And it sounds like you've solved that issue. Exactly.
I mean, the injuries are very bad that we've seen, and a ruptured testicle is what it is. That's going to be emergency surgery. You're going to have to remove one of your testicles, and it can definitely affect a lot. I mean, especially for youth. I mean, we tell mothers, hey, you want to be a grandmother someday. I mean, make sure your kids are training or wearing a protective cup, and that's something that's comfortable, so they'll get used to it and wear it their whole sports career. And so, that's the one. The protection from injury is one thing. The other thing is that having your mind focused on what you're doing, like you said, and not having to worry about a faulty equipment or a piece of equipment that's uncomfortable. I mean, when rolling, if you're rolling in the gi, it's your gi, it's maybe a mouth guard if you wear one, and your cup and a belt or whatever else you're wearing underneath. I mean, there's not a whole lot of equipment that you're wearing, so whatever you're wearing shouldn't be a problem. Imagine you're rolling and you have a mouth guard that just keeps falling out of your mouth every time you go to take a breath. I mean, it would be a distraction from your performance. And that's what we also want to eliminate is when you're out there and you're training is just to have your mind where it should be and not on your equipment. And so, that's what we're doing. And personally, it's been a labor of love, and I'm learning every day about business. I'm learning about athletes. I'm learning about what their needs are and about what new products might need to be introduced out there. And it's been a lot of fun.
You mentioned like the youth market. Do you I'm asking for my co-host, of course, but do you have like a youth market size of a cup?
Yeah, we do. Well, I mean, we have youth sizes from 9 years old on up, and then they graduate into an adult size cup. And we've had some odd requests for extra large cups, believe it or not, triple extra large cups, and we do whatever we can do to accommodate our athletes, and we also offer lifetime warranty on the cup. So if you do buy it and it cracks or tears, we send you one for the rest of your life. So that's a nice thing.
That's cool, and it's an investment. It's just like we are pretty fortunate in jiu-jitsu not to have to buy a lot of equipment. We're not buying like football pads and helmet and all this other stuff. You get a gi. I like to wear a mouth guard. That's the equipment. There's not a whole lot. Like my wife is a runner, and she had to buy some shoes that would help her. Her feet were getting kind of damaged as she would run longer and longer. And it's like that's the only really cost you have is shoes. Like it's not that big of a deal. You don't have to buy a uniform to run in. You have your basic clothes that you have. Like if you just think of it as like a one-time expense to. Like I don't know, a good gi will last me several years. I'd imagine you have a good warranty with the cup, but I don't know how you're going to be wearing that out. But I don't know. It just seems like a wise investment.
Your twig and berries, your Frankenbeans, your family jewels, whatever you want to. It's worth it. It's worth $100. We also have a coupon code we're going to do with you guys for BjjBrick. So for your listeners, if you need a good cup or you need, we have other products too. By the way, we have for grapplers that don't wear cups. We have a product called the Compression Brief. So it's basically like a compression short with a built-in supportive pair of underwear, and that is really going to keep everything in tight. And again, although it's not meant to be worn with a cup, for guys that do not wear cups, it's a really, really good product that Dustin Akbari from Uriah Faber's gym, their head grappling and jiu-jitsu coach, he trains and competes in these things. So we have a lot of other products. We have rash guards, we have T-shirts, we have other things besides, for guys that don't wear cups. But real quick, I want to throw this discount code in just so I don't forget for your listeners. It's BjjBrick. That's BjjBrick, and you'll save 15% off on any products. So we'll have that up for your listeners. And one other thing is that if you get one of our products,
DiamondMMA.com. I got to throw that out.
I'm sorry, yeah.
I'll put a link to that as well, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, go on our site, DiamondMMA.com, check out what we have. If you have any questions about sizing or anything at all, and you're just not sure if you think you're in between size, call the phone number on our website, and it'll forward right to my phone, and you'll speak with me. I handle all of our customers' sizing, and if you were to buy it and roll in it, even for 2-3 try practices or training sessions, and it's not the best cup you've ever worn, we'll exchange it and take it back for a full refund, even after you've worn it. So it's definitely something that I hope your listeners can pick up, and if not, hopefully, just the story of a kid that's been an athlete his whole life, and also interested in business, just did something with it. I mean, you hear all the time, especially on social media, the Gary V's and the Tony Robbins and these guys saying, start a business, start in your spare time, do that. It's kind of what I did, and I really partnered with people and recruited guys that shared our same vision, that loved the sport, that loved to train and work out, but also loved to design and create a product that actually could do something and help people. And so personally, this business has been really satisfying, and although we're not there where we want to be, it's kind of like jiu-jitsu. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I'm looking at this as the long term. And if we just keep inching our way and just keep shrimping and keep moving and keep breathing and keep going, we're going to reach the goal that we set for ourselves, which is where everybody's wearing our products that train and want the best protection. And I think jiu-jitsu is the same way. If you just keep coming, then you'll eventually get better and learn, and as long as you don't quit. So I think it's another interesting thing that jiu-jitsu has taught me, and although I haven't been doing it as many years as a lot of people, a lot translates to business and life, and just to realize that nothing's gonna happen overnight. You're just gonna have to keep showing up and grinding and being consistent. And when you're consistent with things, you get better, and when you're not, you're not. And there's nothing more frustrating in the world when I haven't been to the gym in a month, and I go back and I remember rolling with a guy, and now he's getting better. He's getting better and I'm not. Because he's been there, and that's just the beauty of it is that whatever work you put in, you're going to get out of it. And I think that's the same with life and business.
Yeah, something that I think is like a hidden challenge with selling a product like this is that it goes undetected. So you could be watching UFC on pay-per-view or whatever, and a guy gets kicked. You don't even notice it unless the action stops. And even if let's say he gets kicked and the action continues, he's okay. You don't know what kind of cup did that. It's so rare that they mention brand name or that sort of thing with this. Like, I could see the type of shorts the person's wearing. I could look at their gloves if I wanted to. I could look at different things, but it's kind of under the radar. It's under the layer.
It's under the shorts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why Joe Rogan's been such a big proponent for us. He talks about us on his podcast when they're talking about cups, and he wears it personally. Back in the earlier days of the UFC, guys would be wearing our diamond shorts, and it has our diamond compression jock rather has a diamond pattern waistband. So if a fighter's shorts were drooping down a little bit, you'd see our waistband, everybody know he's wearing diamond. But now what they've done since the Reebok deal, they actually take a black Sharpie and they color in the diamonds, so nobody will see that brand, or they'll make them put a pair of compression shorts over ours just to kind of hide it. So, we know the guys are wearing ours, and it's okay, and it's really a word of mouth thing. I mean, it's a guy's in jiu-jitsu, and someone he goes to pass his guard, and knee hits him in the groin, and a big thud rings out, and everybody says, "Oh, you okay?" And he says, "Oh no, I'm good. I got my Diamond MMA cup on." And he says, "Oh, it's the best." "Oh yeah, I've heard about that on Rogan." And so that's kind of the word of mouth, how our product spreads too, is just by guys training and guys talk about good equipment. But one of our goals was what you said, is that there were so many low blow stoppages in the UFC because they were just wearing crappy cups. We wanted to stop that. We wanted to say, hey, let's make a cup and support that is comfortable and protective enough where a guy could get kicked in the middle of a fight and just go right through it. He wouldn't even have to stop. And that would keep the action going for the sport we all love. And that was really what we've done. And now that close to the majority of current UFC fighters are wearing our stuff, there's definitely been a reduction in groin shot timeouts. So we're just going to keep doing what we're doing.
That's interesting. I always look for ways to track things. And I didn't think about looking at how much time on average somebody, or how many times it occurs, in 100 fights where, okay, we had to have 10 guys have to have time to recover. And then how long was that recovery time? And how much of that was somebody wanting to get a little break, or I don't know. But that's the actual metrics you could look at and say they're working. Look on our athletes, the amount of instances where they needed time is less. The amount of time they needed was less. And
yep,
that's an interesting thing that I hadn't thought of before. You just mentioned that.
Yeah, I mean, even the TV timeouts. I mean, even for the promotion, that loss of action it's not good for the product and the brand or the athletes, of course. It's really fighter safety. So, myself, I started this company by walking into gyms, talking to fighters, getting products on them, getting feedback from them, what they like, what they don't like, and then just revising and improving the products until it gets to a point where they feel like they forget they're even wearing it. So that's one of our main goals, and we're getting there.
Yeah, and it's an important topic. It's not often like talked about or made a big deal of. I think like for myself, I have probably changed parts of my game because it makes me safer, and maybe I'm avoiding things that I could be doing that would be more aggressive or be more successful than that, because occasionally I'll catch a knee somewhere or something like that, where if I had that, maybe I would be able to try a certain guard pass and feel better about it, or try a sweep that I wouldn't get bothered by or something like that. Like, I think it could actually change the way I move on the mats, because it's always not wearing a guy that doesn't wear a cup because they're uncomfortable and they move and it becomes bothersome. I have to think about that sometimes when I grapple. Like, I don't want to get caught here and that sort of thing. It would be nice to just ignore that part of the game and just grapple. Yep,
I mean that's it, and we love it when we hear stories and we see customers that are wearing our stuff. It's great because, like I said, from an athlete as myself, I know what it's like to wear good equipment and crappy equipment, and there's a big difference. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's a great kind of niche product and industry, and we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And if anybody out there is interested in talking to me or about our products or trying us out, you know how to get a hold of us. We're a small company, but we're growing, and we're excited to talk to any jiu-jitsu athletes or anybody that's has questions and wants to try our stuff out.
Yeah, Craig, I got kind of an odd question for you, but I'm curious. So, when you're watching an MMA event and somebody gets kicked and it's bad, what's the first thought in your mind about what just happened?
I love it, to be honest. I mean, I don't love it because I don't want this. It's bad for the sport, I guess. But I love it because it brings awareness to groin protection and why it's important to have a good cup. And that's that's it. We're also you've been in talks with the UFC trying to get this cup kind of mandated for everybody. So there is never a problem, but I don't mind it. I like it. It's our business, and although I don't want that to happen to these guys, if they're not wearing our cup, then maybe they deserve it. I don't know, but it's it's interesting.
If the awareness of the cup is not there, then that's too bad. But if you know about it and you're aware of a superior thing, that could really save you. And by now everybody does know about it. At least the people that listen to the show are aware that there's a better option, because I was unaware that something like this could really exist, that they actually made it. I don't know what my cup was designed to do other than protect me, but it wasn't designed to grapple in. So that's why it says in my drawer. And I'm glad you found this and not found it. You've developed this for the specific market.
Thanks. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on. And to all your listeners out there, it's really cool to talk to you guys and have a little bit of an audience. And again, it's been close to a decade of developing this and getting this business going. But we got a great team of guys and gals that are helping us get it out to everybody that needs it. And check us out at diamondmma.com. Put in BjjBrick to save 15%, and then follow us on Instagram, at Diamond MMA, for other content and specials and news. And we're always got new products coming out. We'd love to talk to you guys.
Yeah, is the coupon code case sensitive or does it not, like, all capital or?
No, it's not case sensitive. Just BjjBrick and you'll save 15% off. And again, if you guys, your listeners, have any questions on sizing or what type of level of protection would be best for them, call the phone number and we'll answer, and we'll help guide you to get the right product for yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember, and I haven't put it to a test in a long time, but back in the early 2000s, maybe 2004ish, when I would like not be confident about the size of a gi. Like I would just call, and usually like the owner would answer the phone. It was like, that's amazing. And so
we try to give that same customer experience. I agree with you. I love to pick up a phone and be able to talk to someone, and so you can chat with us, you can message us on Instagram, you can email us, and we'll always get back to you within 24 hours to help out.
That's cool. I appreciate that level of service. That means a lot, and I'm sure that will serve you well in the future for just doing business.
Cool. Well, it was great talking to all you guys, and great talking to you. And I'd love to come on sometime again, maybe with one of our athletes, like a Gary Tonin or a Gordon Ryan or any of these guys that are wearing our stuff, and let them tell you for themselves. It'd be cool to maybe have a talk with one of them too, and about all the different cups they wore before they found ours. It's pretty interesting to hear how these guys. We've had guys protecting with a sock up until and guys protecting with a cup that was duct taped for the last 10 years to be held up. So it's pretty crazy stories we hear.
I've heard of the sock thing just to add volume, not for protection system. But
it's I think IBJ. Some of these tournaments don't allow cups. I think IBJF or JJF. I'm not sure which. I don't think you can compete in a cup, and some guys want a little extra padding there to feel a little secure. So it's been interesting, but. Again, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
And, it was if I come out to your neck of the woods, I'd love to roll with you.
All right, that'd be fun. Thanks for jumping on here with me, Craig.
All right, have a good day, guys.
I want to thank Craig for hopping on the show. I had a fun time talking with him about jiu-jitsu and about what he's done for the kind of the world of combat sports, really. And I really haven't realized that it had come so far with the cup protection system, and that there are good options out there. So if you find yourself, is this like a frustrating thing for you that happens and it bothers you, this would definitely be worth looking at, investing in. And we don't have a lot of equipment cost in jiu-jitsu. You get a couple gis, you're good to go. You get a pair of shorts or a rash guard, there you go. And so just add a few percentage dollars to that whole cost, and you get yourself something that will last you a very long time. I think most of our costs come in training and being a member at a gym and doing private lessons or doing seminars. It spreads out through there, but the actual material cost of jiu-jitsu is very low compared to like a lot of other sports where you have to invest in hockey gear or football gear or whatever. So we just will one more thing, and it comes. I've yet to use one, so I can't give it a personal recommendation, but from everything I've heard, this is the answer to all of your problems, Gary, as far as this category of the failures that you've dealt with. The damage you've taken.
Yeah. So you think about taking damage. I mean, every time you take damage, you're not on the mat. Our goal is to get on the mat. We want to get better, and consistency is the key to that. And that kind of brings me to our article of the week. It's from Balanced Bodies Tulsa. How consistency affects jiu-jitsu practitioners. And Joe, I'll have you elaborate on this article here.
Byron always sends Gary and I show notes like a month in advance, and so it gives us plenty of time to read and study up on them. And I've been checking this article, been checking this article out for a few minutes now. But I'll just start with the two paragraphs that the author has here, and the first one is problem-solving skills develop from resistance. And the second is discipline improves skill. And those are just really great concepts. And, in life, and we say this almost every episode, as you go through adulthood, you're going to have struggles at work. You might have struggles in your marriage. You're going to have, if jiu-jitsu is your hobby, you're going to have, some injuries and stuff you got to get through. All those problems need to be solved. And that those problem-solving skills come from resistance. When things are difficult, that's how you learn. And jiu-jitsu is it's like this little fishbowl where everything's intensified. And man, if you are ever under mount from somebody who's really good at that position and maybe they're a little bigger than you, that's a problem that needs to be solved. There's some resistance and some pressure, and it forces you to develop those problem-solving skills. So I would say that's one of the keys to jiu-jitsu. And of course, the article has to do with consistency. And really, if I go to class infrequently, or if I dodge the guys that give me difficult rolls, there's no consistency there, and that's going to make it more difficult for me to develop these skills. So that's where I would start, is with problem-solving skills, and you develop them on the mat when things get difficult.
Consistency, you could also kind of lump that in the category of being disciplined with your training. If you train the same 4 days every week, and you decide to start taking off one of them and doing something else, or going out to eat, or I don't know what it would be. Something else kind of works its way in there this week or that week or whatever. That's bringing in inconsistency to your training. And I think that having it in its right place, jiu-jitsu for most of us is not the number one thing in the world. We have we have a work we have to maintain. We have families we have to keep happy. What?
It's not the number one thing?
I don't know who would. It's pretty hard to say that is like the most important thing in the entire world.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. But it could feel like it is. But if you make it consistent, and the days that you miss are valid because maybe somebody in your family was sick, or something is, you're not healthy this time, or I don't know, a big day at work and it happens to come and hit you, and you need to maintain a steady income. Anything can happen like that. But being consistent allows you to get over those times when you can't be as regimen on the mats. Because if you're already inconsistent with your training and you're skipping it to go watch a movie, or skipping it to hang out and with your old buddies or whatever, this other stuff's still going to happen, so it's going to hit you a little harder. So I think that as far as consistency goes, we can look at it as discipline. And the article does talk about discipline and improving skills, and really any skill you want to improve upon, you need to have discipline behind that to get success with your improvement. So I think that's a big part of it. Do you guys have like set days of the week that you train typically, or that sort of a schedule, that anything that helps you?
Yeah, I do.
Man, my schedule's too crazy traveling back and forth to work. I just kind of try and look a week out, and I got to do this day and this day and this day to get my 2 or 3 days in per week. So, and so being in that position, I really envy people that can set a schedule. I think there's a lot of value to that. I
think you fall in the same category as me, Joe. You train when you can, and my schedule is a lot of randomness. But I wasn't able to train today that we're podcasting, but I'm able to train tomorrow, and I'm going to train tomorrow at 11 a.m. And so knowing that in advance, I think brings me some consistency as far as I set my day kind of around that. I'm going to get some stuff done in the morning. I'm going to get some stuff done in the afternoon, and my wife will be off work in the evening, and we'll hang out together. But so I'm consistent with when I can train, I do train. But the day of the week, and then either the morning class or the evening class, I'm all over the place. But I'm consistent with when I can, I'm there. At least once. I rarely get 2 in a day. That's pretty. I can't remember the last time I've done that, but my consistency, I think, is not really dictated like you. Like we're in the same boat. It's not on the same schedule or like looking at a day of the week, but it's opportunity. If the opportunity's there, I'm consistently there. So I think it's a big part of jiu-jitsu that we don't often talk about. You want to be consistent in your training. It's not. I think the ultimate like fail of this would be train every day for 2 weeks and then take a month off. That's not going to be an effective way of training. You're much better off spreading those time out and training. If you have the passion and desire to train a whole bunch, that's fine. Don't get burned out. But learning that to be consistent is a better long-term strategy.
Yeah, that's a great point, Byron. Whatever position you find yourself in life, you just work with that schedule and try and find the consistency you can. I used to work 14 and 14 on the ships. I'm not on the ships anymore, so I can train when I'm at work. But when I was on the ships, it was 14 days offshore and then 14 days on the beach. And so I never thought about how many times I train a week. But every time I was home, I tried to get 10 classes in. And then I said, I train 8 to 10 times a month. And so I look at it that way. It gives me some consistency. I mean, I'm sure we've got guys doing jiu-jitsu that are truck drivers. I know we've got guys in the military. We've probably got some pilots training. I mean, just all sorts of people with different life situations. And you just try and find the consistency where you can and make sure you're getting in, like you said, Byron, get it in when you can.
Joe, did you say we have some pirates training?
Well, I said pilots, but we probably do have some pirates as well.
Okay, that's I got a little confused there.
Joe's on the high seas a lot. Yar.
We need to have a Talk Like a Pirate podcast one day. Okay, I guess not.
Not right now. I can't think of what I would say. I think of pirates always having the eye patch, and like the hook. And you know what would make a great eye patch? A BjjBrick gi patch.
Oh yeah.
Two of our newest Patreon supporters are Brian and Caleb. They now have the ability to stitch that into over their eyes. If they would hurt. That would not be advisable. But if you want to support the podcast, you can do it on a website called Patreon. There's a link to it in the show notes. Most people are kicking in like between $1 to $3 per episode. It really means a ton to us. We don't have millions of supporters. We have a handful, and they mean a lot to us, and they're really helping us keep this brick floating as pirates attack it with cannonballs and that sort of thing. We don't have a cup over this brick. We're just taking them all with brute force.
All we have to do when those cannonballs are coming at us, we just need protection from a Diamond MMA athletic supporter.
Speaking of Diamond MMA athletic supporters, we're actually going to we're thinking about reviewing this product, and we're thinking about doing it June 14th through June 16th. And Byron gets a baseball bat and a lead pipe, and I get a crowbar and a monkey wrench, and Gary gets a Diamond MMA crotch protector, and we're going to test them out. And so, and we're inviting our listeners to take part in this. So, June 14th through 16th, we're going to be having a BjjBrick event. We hope to see you there. Who's going to be our guest for this event, Byron?
Samir Chantry and Gina Franson will be our guest instructors. They'll be teaching Saturday, and I know Gina is going to stay on Sunday and train with us on our Sunday class as well. And June 14th, the Friday night, is the kind of open mat. We're all going to get together, have a lot of mat time, and get some good times and experiences together sharing the mats. So it's a 3-day weekend packed full of jiu-jitsu. We'd love to have you come out there. Last year we had a blast meeting so many of you. There are limited spots, and I think it will likely sell out. So contact Jake at foxfitnessbjj.com. That's not an email address, that's a website. So find his... contact him at Fox Fitness. It sounds like an email address, but just go to foxfitnessbjj.com and get a hold of Jake there, or message me if you're having trouble with that, and I'll get you connected to Jake, and he'll get your spot saved. And we're gonna have a great time teaching, learning, camaraderie, as Gary always says. And the thing about this, Gary, that I know you're not prepared for because you haven't heard about this part of the event, it's also a lot of bricks being thrown at your at your tool bag. But it's just not fair to wear it and say it's the best. So we're gonna get you also a cheap one, and then you can compare the amount of damage you're taking.
That I forgot to let you guys know I do have something going on that weekend, and I will not be there. So I apologize in advance.
No, it's really the weekend after that. You're going to need the the tool bag to actually work.
And we mean tool. It's definitely a tool bag.
Oh man!
But one thing you mentioned about get your tickets early because it may sell out, and it made me kind of think of a question we got this week. Anytime you have a question, send a question to bjjbrick@gmail.com. But a question we got this week from one of our listeners was, what is your favorite size of class? I mean, there can be, 2 people, 1 person, or 50 people. Joe and Byron, what about you? I mean, I know you guys don't have any class, but what would you think would be your favorite number of participants when you go to BJJ practice?
Well, it has to do a little bit with mat space, right? I mean, I don't necessarily like a really, really crowded mat, and but I do like to have. It's more to me about the composition of the class, really. I like a class to be big enough to have a couple of good white belts, maybe a couple of good blue belts, and then, some purple and brown belts that are better than me. We talked earlier about, training with different people at different skill levels. And so to me, it's more about the composition of the class. As long as there's enough people there so that sort of every skill level is represented, to me, that's the right size of class.
I can think back one time going to an open mat, and there was only 3 people there, and it was me and my buddy, and then another one of our training partners who doesn't live here anymore but came into town, and he's actually been a guest on the show, is Brian Marvin. And Brian Marvin is incredible. And I just remember the great thing about that was I got like a 2-hour private lesson is what it felt like. And, I used to have, I always used to like bigger classes and everything. I thought it was better that way. But just an open mat with Brian Marvin, and I remember he was teaching me his head and arm choke. And I never had a good head and arm choke. And, he's got a little different way of doing it. And ever since that day I trained with Brian, and I basically felt like a private lesson, my head and arm choke has been great. So, like I said, I used to always want bigger classes. I don't know. I guess I used to just think a bigger class, means a better team or whatever. But after all that specialized instruction I got, I don't mind a small class.
Yeah, that's sounds like a great training experience, Gary. For me, this is a personal question as well. Like, what is your favorite size of class? There's no right or wrong answer, and I guess I'm all over the place on this.
Well, we know.
I like to go to Fox Fitness on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Those are the nights where the mats are full. We've got big classes, and I think I like that because basically everybody there is my friend.
That's what I was thinking, Gary.
Yeah.
Because I could do what?
You can duck more people without being called out about it.
No, it's like basically all these people are my friends. I consider them, really good friends. So I'd rather hang out with like 10 friends or 20 or 40 friends. And typically, I think I'm the type of person who likes hanging out with people that he considers friends. I don't like to be alone all day long. So I get a lot of energy when I get to a class and I start seeing people I haven't seen for a week or two, and it's exciting to start shaking hands and talking to people, catching up with people. So when you get kind of that big class, it gets that vibe, maybe just for myself, but I get really excited to see a big group of friends that are all here to have a good time and to do some hard training. That's a lot of fun. The other opposite of that is 3 people.
Hold on, Byron.
Yeah.
Byron, real quick. You said you really like to hang out with friends, right?
I something like that, yeah, Gary. I feel like you got me stuck here.
Hey, as soon as this is over, you want to hang out?
Gary, you've said repeatedly that you don't consider me a friend. But if you want to head on over here, Gary, meet me halfway between, we'll have a good time. I got to eat dinner here in a little bit. So
I'm coming for dinner.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, what are we having?
I'm going to make you a cold hot dog. Interpret that however you want. That sounded bad.
I'm not coming over.
That sounded really bad.
Yeah.
No, but I also like the 2 people in a class is kind of hard. If it's the instructor and student, that's kind of difficult. I like 3, and 3 makes a really good drilling situation where if they're all able to do it, you roll for 3-minute rounds and you just trade. So you get a 3-minute break, and you roll for 6 minutes. Half of that's with one person, half is with the other person. You just do this over and over and over again. 6 minute rounds, a 3 minute break. 6 minute round, 3 minute break. And it is a fun way to train with a small group of people, that being 3 anyway. And I remember seeing 3 people like, man, this is gonna be tough. No, it's really a fun thing to do because you get training. You find like patterns in your guys' rolling that you wouldn't expose until a second or third or fourth roll happens. Okay, this is happening again. What's happening? And you could stop and work on some things. I really like that small group as well. And just having this conversation and this question in front of us reminded me of way back in the day when occasionally Gary would show up to class and it would be like me and the instructor. Or just so few people compared to what we're used to. It's just, I would be thinking in my back of my head, are we going to have class? Am I going to go home and not do jiu-jitsu? Like, this is too small of a class to have. And our instructor was John Castillo. He always had class. The fact that John was there and somebody else was there, we're going to have class. And I really like that looking back because it would be an easy thing for him to say, you know what? You're the one that showed up. Let's call it a night, man. There's no point in really do anything today. Nobody's here. But the value of his students was high, and he said, "You showed up. I'm here for you. Let's do jiu-jitsu." And that happened quite a bit. When jiu-jitsu was fairly new in Wichita, and we didn't have big classes, and he'd show up and almost nobody would be there. And I wonder if he'd show up and nobody was there, if he'd do the warm up and start doing some drills himself. I don't know, but I really respect that and be that type of instructor. If you show up and there's only one other student, hold a class and make it the best class you possibly can. Show that student the value that you see in them. I think that's a little bit different than the question, but this question kind of reminds me of that.
Well, you think about that. I talked about that time I showed up to open mat, and it was just me, my buddy, and Brian Marvin showed up when he was in town. And Brian's probably looking at it like, well, I'm not getting any good rolls here. I just got Gary here to roll with. But, he basically, he did what you did, became the best instructor. He really worked with me, and he taught me a lot that day. I mean, I know, like I said, I had no head and arm choke, and I think I have a pretty decent head and arm choke now, and it was just from that one day, just one-on-one help, and he basically like I said, he probably came in and was like, oh, this guy's a scrub, I got to roll with this guy, but he made it the best possible, and he really affected myself and my training partner Craig at that day, so we learned a ton.
Yeah, and Craig's got a deadly head and arm choke. Man, if that's where you learned it from, it was a good day for Craig. His head and arm choke is insane. But thanks for the question. Yeah, if you have a question, send us the question at BjjBrick@gmail.com, or you could message it to us on our Facebook page, and we'd be happy to throw it in here and kind of bat it around a little bit and see what we come up with. Guys, I had a fun time talking with you guys today, and thank you, Craig, for the interview. It's definitely a topic I had kind of written off in jiu-jitsu. I didn't need it, and it also kind of hurt. So open my eyes to that, and thank you for that. So until then, stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower.
Train hard, train smart, get better, guys. We'll see you on the mats.
You can probably wash your cup too, Gary.
I could.
Gary's like, why? I'm the only one that uses it.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.